Hey everyone, I'm Corey and I'm here at VOX and I'm thrilled to tell you about the MV50 amp heads. What's sitting next to me are three tiny 50-watt amp heads. Now I know you're wondering how we got 50 watts into something that only weighs a little over 1 pound. Well, it begins with the new tube, which is essentially a shrunken down version of a triode vacuum tube. It still has an anode grid filament. It still works exactly like a 12AX7 does, but we're able to build it in a compact, energy efficient way so that it gives us all the overtones and harmonics and beauty of a classic tube preamp with something that doesn't have the upkeep and maintenance of classic vacuum tubes. Now we pair that new tube preamp section with a Class D power section. And this is not just some solid state Class D power amp that we grabbed off the shelf. It's a power amp that we developed to work perfectly with the new tube front end. And it gives us the dynamics and the touch response and the push and pull and give that we expect from tube amplifiers. So what we have essentially is a micro version of a 50-watt amp head that VOX has designed to be perfectly convenient and yet perfectly powerful. And there's three different personalities of these MV50 heads. The first one is called AC, and that's the classic chime and crunch of VOX's AC30. Next to it is the one that we call rock, and rock is for classic high gain tones. Next to that is clean. And clean is meant to give you high headroom and dynamic clean tones all the way up to 50 watts. Now those are sitting on top of the BC108 and the BC112 speaker cabs. And those are meant to work in conjunction with the MV50 heads, and I'll tell you about those in just a second. If we take the MV50 and we spin it around, there's a couple of features that I want to point out. The first one is a flat deep switch, and that's essentially our output EQ. What that deep switch allows us to do is to get an emphasized low end, a bigger footprint, out of a cab that has a single 8-inch speaker in it. If we go over to the flat setting, that gives us a standard EQ and would allow us to plug into a single 12, a 212, a 412, or any number of cabs where we wouldn't want to emphasize the low end so that it sounded bigger. Next to that, we have a line out. And the line out doubles as a headphone out for silent practicing at home, but that line out also has cab simulation. Now again, this is another one of those things that we didn't just grab off the shelf. The line out is meant to give you the sound, the resonance, the experience of playing the full rig through a speaker cab. Now you could plug that into an audio interface for home recording, you could plug it into another power amp, you could plug it into earphones if you want to just sit and practice with just the guitar and the MV50. Now I mentioned the cabs earlier. The BC108 and the BC112 were designed specifically to work in conjunction with the MV50 heads. And the BC108, like I said, has an 8-inch speaker, but it's a custom designed speaker that VOX made so that it sounds bigger than an 8-inch speaker. The 112 has a Celestion V-type speaker, which is a great sounding upgraded speaker from Celestion, but it also has an emphasized mid-range that people have come to know and love from VOX amplifiers. Now, as we look at an amp like this, it's 1.1 pounds and it is 50 watts. It's super convenient, super portable, but also super powerful. The number of ways that we could use these amps is insane, really. You could use it as a backup. You could use it as your only amp. You could now have a stereo rig. You could use it as a delivery vehicle if you have a multi-effects or modeling unit. You could use it as a wet, dry, wet rig, which back in the old days, what people would do is plug a dry sound into a main guitar amp and then run just the stereo effects into the wet stereo outside and the dry in the middle. So that's the MV50. It's not just about high power and super convenience. It's not just about a great sounding amp. Now it's about finding a way to expand what you can do as a guitar player in a way that doesn't break the bank, it doesn't break your back. For any questions on the amps or the cabs, go to voxamps.com. Also, if you have any questions, put it in the comments section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.